Jeff, can you hear me? All right. Um, quick question. So, would it be possible to have this mic in a stand just in case? Um, wait a second. Wait a second. No. So just trying to. For the recording, for your voice to be clear, do you want to have this guy like in a stand so you can talk to people?
Yeah, I can just leave it up here. Sure. Is there none off?
Turn it off. Hold it. Turn it on.
Okay.
It's not just one guy. That's why I.
Did it?
Yeah. No, we're actually he's gonna put it in his music stand, but would we be able to have an extra mic? So we have two handheld mics for questions and one for Noah to answer. Thank you.
It's off.
Testing, testing, 1, 2. Mic check, 1, 2. Check, 1, 2. Test, test.
You get free parking in the garage over there if you absolutely know somebody in the garage. Can I dial? Give you a ride? Okay. Basically directly into the maybe text him. Oh. Worth asking. Sorry, yeah, I need to leave. Like, right after this. I also need to check her both ways. So, yeah, that would ask for the dial. Sorry, Mike. We will have time. Yeah, unless you want to go out to your car. We're not gonna need this stand. Thank you. Sorry. Unless you want to use the vibes here.
Check 1, 2. Perfect. Thanks, man.
No, you're fine sideways because there's a camera dedicated to you.
He's fine? Where's your house? Where do you live?
Yeah, so you guys are gonna be captured by those two cameras.
Right here.
One in the front, each one on the side, and if somebody asks a question, you just turn around.
I know.
Noah has a mic for you guys to answer questions.
Yeah.
We should. How's it going? Yeah, a couple minutes. I wanna see. I think if we're not going to seat anybody behind Dan, we should remove the chairs real quick. Right? 'Cause that's just like a thing.
This chairs?
Emptiness. The emptiness of space. It's not what you want to embrace. The group's gonna play a tune or two, basically a 10 to 12 minute slot of music. Then there'll be some time for some Q&A. Pass the mic around and you can ask any questions. They'll address some things. Keep geopolitics and climate change out of it, unless that's the vibe of the repertoire. Maybe it is.
It is.
Yeah. Then totally, let's talk about it. The end of humanity. Good. It's a good recruiting tool.
Wouldn't maybe not be titled. They gave us permission at our gig last night.
Oh,
It's
really?
like most liberal town in this country.
Right.
If you will.
So, once I get off the stage, Noah's going to take over and kind of run the show. So as we have this clean kind of video shoot, I will be trying to keep people off the camera if they can come late, and then I'll seat them in between songs and Q&A, so it kind of looks cleaner. So that's the modality. I guess if you have to have a biological emergency, you use the restroom or something, you probably go to the one in the back there, the green room bathroom, and maybe sneak out. We'll edit and fix it in post. So thanks for coming and joining us for this special event. And let's give a big round of applause for Noah Preminger. There's a few chairs over here if you want to. Yeah. Once I get off stage, we're going to start rolling.
Okay.
Here you go. Cool. Yeah, so there's a couple chairs back there. Leave that one there just in case we have other late arrivals.
Bye, guys. That was awesome. Thanks.
Yeah.
Guitar school didn't get damaged. Michael, hang on. Take it. All right, thank you. I'm in the room too. Thank you all for being here. I'd like to introduce the band before we get going. This is Max Light on the guitar. Max Light. Originally from Maryland, a couple hours south from here, if you're not familiar. At the bass, from a couple hours north of here, in Maine, this is Kim Cass. Kim Cass. All the way from New Jersey, originally, a couple hours southwest of here. This is Dan Weiss on the drums. And my name is Noah Preminger. I'm from nearby, so thank you for being here. Also, a big thank you to Longy for having us, and especially Eric Hofbauer for having us now. So thank you. So we're gonna maybe play one, take some questions. Play one, take some questions. Anybody have any questions to start? About the music, about our lives. Yeah.
Which part of Maine are you from?
I'm from Bar Harbor.
Oh, no way. I'm from Kennebunk.
No kidding.
So I've been through there a couple of times. Yeah.
Kennebunk.
Nice to meet a fellow Mainer.
Yep.
So.
Can we get a little thicker accent?
Oh.
What about Kennebunk Port?
Oh, there you go. Lobster? Yeah.
George Bush, right? George Bush,
Yeah.
Yeah, he's over there.
Yeah.
Right on. Anybody else? Yeah.
Yeah. So jazz as a music is kind of like made in bars and small spaces. Do you think that the way that you guys play or the way you hear yourselves kind of changes in these large halls or anything like that?
For sure.
He was asking about the difference between playing in a smaller venue as opposed to a more vibrant acoustic setting like this.
For me, it makes a huge difference. I think for the bass. Sorry. Hello. Yeah, the bass in particular responds kind of worse the bigger the space is, at least for me. My favorite places to play are like the kind of typical like basement jazz club that you would find in New York City, where it's kind of a tested and like a proven ground for like just really good sound for me. Although some people feel differently. Whenever I'm on a bigger stage with a bigger sound system, it feels like like more like a herd of animals or something than the bass. It's like when it's coming directly from me and from like a nice amp that's right close to me, that's when I'm at my best for sure. But how do you guys feel?
Pretty similar. I like playing smaller rooms, less bouncy stuff bouncing off the wall. So you just got to make adjustments to each room that you play. Basically, that's the name of the game. Making the adjustments necessary.
That's good. Good. I feel the same as Kim. I generally feel more comfortable when when it's facing me, facing my ears. I have a hard time in big rooms when you're like playing through a sound system where your sound is coming out of a monitor. That usually feels very foreign and uncomfortable to me. Like I have my ear right up against the amplifier or something. But like Dan said, you kind of have to play the room and make adjustments. Yeah.
And people pull it off is the thing. Like people totally pull off the huge venues, but you kind of have to have faith in the people running the sound and just faith in the fact that like out there it probably sounds a lot better than where you are, you know? So it's a big part of it. What do you think, Noah?
Yeah, I agree with all you guys. Yeah.
It's fun to play loud for sure in big rooms, by yourself especially. Like that's really cool. It's a cool feeling. But it's also fun to play loud by yourself in a small room. They're just different.
That's a guitar thing.
Definitely a guitar thing.
Any other questions? Yeah.
I was just wondering. Yeah, I was wondering what. I guess this is Kim and Noah. Just what your. I was
was wondering what your process was for recording Thunder, and like what the compositional aspect of that was, like how you two collaborated with that.
That is a very good question. And I'm amazed at kind of people's theories on that. I've heard it all. I've heard like, where did you guys go to record that? And like, those are your tunes, or like what? Like you guys wrote those together? And it's an interesting process. I don't want to divulge the entire thing, but it has a lot to do with me transcribing Noah.
Is it kind of like bouncing sound files back and forth almost?
Yeah, like a million times. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's a time-consuming process, but they are super saxophonistic lines, and you know, I'm a pretty meticulous person when I'm in my basement, so I just took it upon myself to. I gave Noah some work, of course, as well, but yeah, a lot of I think the craziest parts of that music are the bass, actually transcribing and copying and recording. A lot of times just burning improvised sax lines.
Sure.
Yeah, yeah. Good question.
Any other questions? Cool, we'll play another one then. Let's play GOP. You want to play front? Yeah.
how did you approach from the bass to such a saxophonistical phrasing and vocabulary?
On this tune?
In everything, like, yeah.
Well, you know, sorry. The material on this tune, we at one point did a really intensive tour where we played it every night for a long time, and we played a bunch of gigs at the same time. This was years ago, so there's a lot of muscle memory involved in the composition, and then yeah, I just try to keep that in mind when I'm playing the bass, and just kind of approach the instrument as melodic as I can, I guess. I mean, the music that I love and the players that I love the most, a lot of them aren't bass players, so I just try to emulate what I can, I guess, from other instruments, whether that be a saxophonist or a pianist or drummer. Yeah, so, and just putting yourself there mentally as a goal, I think, is like a lot of the job, you know. I think that there's a very common, not personality trait, but a very common thing with bass where simple is, and I love people that play like this, but yeah, simple, sparse, you know, succinct, using a lot of space, things like that, which I also try to do, but I like to use the other side of the spectrum a lot. You know?
I have a question for Dan. And it's drum related for like the drummers here. I know you deconstructed like an Elvin phrase in when I released that you did with Miguel, and I was just wondering if you could like demonstrate like a straight ahead playing, because I see a lot of like the use of like smaller subdivisions inside what you do, especially on your Instagram videos. So we could just like elaborate on straight ahead playing, if it's cool with you.
Elaborate on what do you mean?
Like set an example of like on when you do like straight ahead straight ahead drumming, if you could just demonstrate us anything of your choice. Because I was thinking about that, what you did with the Elvin phrase and how you deconstruct those phrases in like tabla configurations and all that. But I was just wondering if you could just do some straight ahead playing. If it's okay, I don't know.
Yeah,
So.
I'm trying to think. I mean, some of that, what you heard was pretty tipping, pretty swinging. So that was a demonstration of that. If you could be a little more specific, because I don't really know what.
Yeah, so I'm trying to find ways of like multi-coordination when you're doing straight ahead playing, maybe like other styles than keep it 2 and 4. I know like you elaborate a lot in coordination stuff.
Okay. Maybe, let's see. Maybe walk a bass line. Sure. Maybe I'll take a little cell and then maybe develop that a little bit. Yeah. Sure. Yeah.
Anybody else have any questions? Yeah.
Hi. My name is Annabelle Gil-Diaz. I'm a flute player, master student. I was just wondering a couple of things, like who created the melody for this tune?
Well, these are my tunes.
Okay.
These two in particular.
Who is your main inspiration when you compose those lines for saxophone?
Yeah. Yeah, the main inspiration for the lines, for the melodies, is my own playing, because that's kind of how I improvise. So I have I guess a couple default ways to compose that I feel like I can always kind of get somewhere. One of them is just from the horn, playing how I play, and improvising melodies or just blowing. So if I sit down at home or wherever and I need to write for something, which is usually how I do it if I have a project I want to write for, or some gigs or a recording, I'll write for that specific occasion. With these guys, well, actually, this goes back, this story, because I used to have a friend, a photographer, who's been in the music scene for a long time, and he was a good friend of mine, and he would tell me, he would say, like, Noah, you're way too straight ahead. You know, I think that you're like kind of playing stuff that was already done like a very long time ago, and that's not really what you should be doing. And I thought that was a kind of a ridiculous thing to say to me, but I wanted to kind of take him up on his diss a little bit and write something different that I haven't normally kind of written in the past. So I started recording myself at home, playing the lines that I feel like I normally play, and coming up with different melodic ideas with them. So for example, this last one, it's just a series of phrases that I took from myself blowing that I transcribed and pieced them together in a way that I felt like it made a cool melody. And the last one that we played, that was called GOP. And the last one before that was called Hey Jay. And I started off that one with a, let's see. With a line that sounds like this. And took that melody that I came up with, that I transcribed for myself, and came up with figured out what key I thought it was in, or key that sounded nice in, which happens to be F sharp major, and wrote a bass line from it. Had this boom, 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 boom. It kind of developed that way. And then I wrote some other lines, or played some other lines, transcribed them, and kind of pieced it together in different ways where I felt like it told a story from beginning to end. And then that developed a form for me where we play through all the sections and then go back and improvise on each one and use the melodies as a transition into the next section. And it creates a way for, well, in this scenario, for Max and I to trade, like kind of longer form trading. That's how I wrote those two particular songs. Of course, there's many other ways to write. I mean, a lot of times I write the piano, just different chord progressions that I enjoy, or think I might enjoy playing on, and then write melodies for those. Sometimes I come up with a groove that I like. Kind of depends on the day. But the lines that I think you're referring to, those mainly come from me, from my own playing, and just the research I've done over the past 20 years or so. So, yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Any other questions? Yeah.
question about Paul. And in this song, is melody is difficult, and lots of action, lots of break, and yeah, it's break, rest. Okay, and when you take a new song like this, it's difficult. How did you practice by yourself, or and you play? What will you think about this action?
Are you talking about this?
Yeah,
how do I approach it?
Yeah.
Lucky enough, I've been reading music since I was a little kid, so I had that, which was lucky. So there's a lot of stuff. Yeah, you're right. So you kind of, in the chart, there's the written melodic figures. Then there's also parts where it says walk, right? So when it's walk, I'm pretty much playing time. But the other stuff, kind of pick and choose the stuff I want to catch, like maybe some important melodic notes or some high notes maybe, and then maybe set up some figures. There's some breaks, and we've played this tune a bunch, so it's in the ear. So after a while, you kind of know what to do. It's pretty, like you said, active. So some spots I might really try to hold it down when there's a lot of stuff happening. I might try to just play simple time. One of his instructions in the beginning was just go nuts over some of those.
Yeah, it's kind of blow through the melody.
Yeah, sometimes he says blow through the melody, so I'll do that sometimes. But yeah, I think reading is a good skill to have together, and it will make things like this easier. Yeah.
Any other questions? Cool. All right, we'll play another one. Is it high blues or sit? Let's play higher blues. It's a little different. Just like a hair under where it was yesterday. One, two, no, 1, 2. So, as a little follow-up to your question, Annabelle? Annabelle. So that was a different kind of composing process for me, where I came up with a bass line first, and then wrote a minor blues, essentially, over that rhythmic bass line. And then came up with a melody over that, kind of inspired by music I grew up listening to in the 90s, like Rosenwinkel, that kind of thing. So a different style of writing for that one. Any other questions? Yeah.
Hi, I'm Mike. I'm a UD saxophone player, woodwind department. I noticed that when you were playing, especially in the improvisation section, you always end up always got this, for example, like da. You always together. It is something that is writing or is what is the bass player, if it's you know, calling the drum, how do you manage to do that, always end up doing those accents, those kind of play together?
I'll take a shot first. I think I understand what you're saying. Where we're hooked up, basically. You mean where we're playing rhythmically different shots?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, part of it is it's part of the composition. The bass line, boom, 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 boom. So that rhythmic concept, we play off of that a lot. So maybe, you know, bass, maybe the rhythm section, we'll play off that first, you know, dotted quarter, boom, boom, or maybe you're hearing that, or part of the melody, but ba boo ba boo ba da 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 do da do 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 da. So there's a lot of upbeat. At the end?
Kind of all over too, yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of anticipations, a lot of upbeats, part of the bass line, and part of the melody where they kind of sync up.
Yeah, but in the improvisation,
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, we have. I mean, when I'm improvising personally, I have the bass line kind of in the back of my head, so I know that there are certain parts of the form where it may or may not happen. You know, so we kind of play off of that a little bit, just knowing that that's there. You know, it's same thing with jazz standards. You know, trying to think of one. So that is a rhythm changes called CTA. It has hits kind of like built into the melody. So maybe if we're blowing, might blow off of that. Use that as a rhythmic device to improvise with. But everybody in the band knows that that's possible, you know, because it's the written material. So, yeah, not sure if that answers your question, but anybody else have anything to add?
Yeah, I think that part of the reason it sounds like that on this tune is that there's these, it's grooving along, right? Like kind of in 4/4, but there's these bars of 5/4, just like kind of throughout the tune, that are like these kind of hiccups that we like go after. We love that part, and like we trust each other enough to take risks on those parts, which makes it even more, you know, a little more surprising. Whereas the bass line for those, like the first bars in 5/4, right, which kind of sets it off on a weird note, and the bass line for that is. So that's the downbeat, is that A flat. But like once we get into the tune, we're anticipating into that bar, but like Dan knows what I'm doing if I'm gonna mess with it, right? So 3, 4. like a little playground, you know. So whether it be subdividing in triplets or 16th notes or whatever your thing is, we try to just go for it all, and we usually end up in the right spot, like, you know, hitting that hit that you're hearing. Yeah.
And if we don't end up in the right spot, if we take a risk and someone's like, where are we? That rhythmic material is there all the time for us to reorient ourselves. If you're playing really loose or really going for something for like a long time and you lose it, it's there. And Dan will hit and a 4, or Kim will give you the root really loud and intense. So, you know, playing off the material is fun.
Got each other's backs too. Part of it.
Any other questions?
Yeah. Okay. So first, thanks for being here. I have a question for Max first.
Yes.
Who was or who is your main inspiration?
I love a lot of musicians on a lot of instruments. On guitar, I love Alan Holdsworth and Kurt Rosenwinkel and Johnny Smith and Ben Monder, Bill Frisell, John Schofield, Pat Metheny, Pat Martino, Jimmy Page, Jimi Hendrix, you know, all the cats, basically. Sonny Rollins, John Coltrane, Miles Davis, Paul Bley, Keith Jarrett, Herbie Hancock, McCoy Tyner, Elvin Jones, Richard Davis, Tony Williams, Biggie Smalls, for sure. Big Pun. You know, you look for influence everywhere, I think. Freddie Hubbard, Woody Shaw, all these people. Aphex Twin, Venetian Snares, Square Pusher. I'm just listing artists now. Keeping Schoenberg, Webern, Stravinsky, you know what I'm saying? Definitely looking for influence everywhere.
Okay, thank you. And the other question is for everybody. What's an advice you can give to whoever wants to find their unique style on the instrument?
Look for influence everywhere, I think. Like, look away from your instrument. Most of all, follow your heart and what you're actually interested in, you know? Don't set some, like, expectation for yourself against your peers or people that have played your instrument before you, you know? Definitely, like, just be interested in what you're actually interested in and try to translate that to what you're trying to do on your instrument, for sure.
My question is for Max. Like when I see you play, like your technique is so like accurate, and you seem so calm when playing, and even like playing like maybe things that are not guitar driven, like Noah's line at the same time. So I was wondering, do you practice technique? How do you approach practicing technique? Do you do it like using transcriptions, or do you have like things that you do to make you feel that it's so easy when playing all that great stuff?
There was definitely a lot of years where I was really rigorous about technique, really like playing things in one position over and over again, playing scales like 3 notes per string, 4 notes per string, adhering to 1 finger per fret with a metronome every day for like many years, basically, and also noodling all the time, like trying to have a healthy relationship with it too, just like doing it for fun and like not, I don't know, just like playing whatever I want, having time in my practice or in my day where I'm basically just doing whatever I want on the instrument, whatever is like interesting to me at the time, whether it's like some chord progression or just whatever, just totally noodling and having fun doing it. As far as like the learning Noah's stuff, it's like a similar thing with Kim. Like it's super not built for these instruments. So whenever he sends me some new stuff, it's just like, it's a lot about finding the best way to play it on guitar, because there's so many different ways you can choreograph every single moment of every one of these lines, and you can like choreograph yourself into a corner where you can't play the rest of it. So it definitely, like, for stuff like this and more involved compositional stuff that has a lot of linear material that's uncomfortable, it's like a lot of preparation for me, for sure. Just like a lot of like thinking about it and like planning it out. And like we've been playing this stuff for years now, but like we come back to it every couple of months or so, and I have like some new perspective from maybe some other music I've been playing or learning that shows me the easier, better way to play it on guitar. Because it's it's unintuitive reading music on a stringed instrument like this, especially when it's like this kind of material where it's like a bunch of stuff that you will not confront in your own practice, you know, just because it's someone else's way of organizing information. So definitely like preparation is a big part of these lines. Yeah.
So this is a follow-up question to your answer, but anyone can answer. You were talking about finding inspiration everywhere, and you listed zillion musicians. How do you guys in general pick from each inspiration? How do you filter through all of it to find your own style? Like what has been your process? I mean, I know there's not a formula that will work for everyone, but how has been your approach to nurture your music from all those inspirations?
I mean, you kind of like what you like because there's something you like in it, if that makes sense. like you don't filter it, you just like, there's something cool in there, and it's like about that reflecting back on you. I think, at least when I'm composing music, like, what are the things that I'm looking for, and what, I don't know. It's a good question.
I know for me personally, like a lot of it has to do with people that I'm surrounded by and just suggestions. I think it's important, like everybody calls this a social music, and I think that means different things, but like Kim will send me a text message and be like, did you check out this new, or this record, or this comedy show, or whatever. And I think that happens a lot. It's good to have a network of people and just bounce ideas off of people and play with as many people as possible and learn their thing and where they come from. I mean, you're from Colombia. You have a lot of different influences than I do, coming from Connecticut. You know, just different lifestyles, different things we grew up with. So I can learn a lot from you, and vice versa. Just the people I played with, I played in an Afrobeat band for a number of years, and people in that group were checking out a lot of different stuff that I had never heard in my life before. So I got turned on to a bunch of that. It just, over time, you through meeting different people and having different experiences, you kind of gather more and more information, and you develop your own voice, you know, even more and more each day. So I think that's probably how the four of us have done it. Most people, I think, have done it. I think it's tough being by yourself in this musical world because you're on your own to kind of find information. But if you have people that you're surrounded by, things will get tossed at you, and you'll be like, oh, that's cool, or not into that. And the things that are cool, maybe you'll explore more of that territory. So. Anybody else?
Yeah. You know, one point, like, I think, like, we all kind of strive not to really blatantly sound like the people that we love, you know, and it's sometimes hard. But I think that will just kind of happen. Like, you can have your influences, have them be really strong, and also not sound like them, just sound like yourself from just playing for a super long time. But one thing that really helps me is, like, you know, when you have like a musical experience and it's like that was bad. Like you got to shake that off and get back into your zone where you are inspired and you know, don't let that get to you. Don't be like, well, I guess this is what music is like. This might not be for me after all. You know, like that has happened to everyone at certain points. You know, in some way, in some level. There's like better experiences and experiences that you're not as into, and like kind of refining your approach to like suit what you really do like and what inspires you. That's the thing. For me, that really helps me. And a lot of times that's like playing and just kind of practicing by myself or with certain groups, but certainly like defining what I do has been a lot of playing by myself. You know, there was advice from a great saxophonist, George Garzone, who told me he used to teach in Boston at NEC actually, and he said that he would put the TV on and just like play his triadic, chromatic, acrobatic, randomized lines, and that's kind of how it got so happening a lot of the time. Like he would just do it, and like Matt was saying, like he would give himself permission to let loose and do that thing, and he developed this concept that like basically no one else can do, you know. And it came from this just like basically chilling and enjoying himself, you know. Yeah.
Watch The Wire.
Watch The Wire? Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah.
I just rewatched it because it was good. You know, it's worth watching. You guys should watch The Wire.
You could also, you know, like if you're into a bunch of different things, you could work on some stuff like actively, and then other stuff you could just listen to and just let it kind of wash over you and not really develop it, you know. So there's kind of two different ways you can go about dealing with your influences. And then there's things like if there's something about a particular player that you like, you could just take that little idea and just kind of run with it, you know. Like, I mean, for example, I don't know, there's so many parts of Elvin Jones's drumming that I love so much, but you could really, if you start analyzing things, like little details, you might gain influence and like you might kind of run with an idea, just a little tiny idea. Sometimes, you know, he would do. We've all heard Elvin do this, right? Same. But what he did with the cymbal there, he didn't play. He played this. So that one little idea, you know, I could maybe, you know, spend a long time with that, try to develop that, you know, just that little deviation from the ride cymbal. So if you played it normally, that's not his vibe. His vibe is a big difference, right? So you know, those things you could develop. If there's an instrumentalist that you like, or part of a little solo, you could take a little kernel of an idea and expand on it.
Hey, I have kind of like a practical question about the band leadership and management that you guys do together or don't do, if it's kind of mostly your thing. Like, I'm curious, like, you talked a bit about working on arrangements together. I know they're your tunes, but like, how do you share both like the musical elements of arranging and then sort of the practical things of booking and like setting rehearsal times? And is it mostly you that does that, or do you share, like, delegate some of the things?
Yeah, we might have different methods, each of us as band leaders and composers, but for this band, I usually, when I have new music, how do I give it to you guys? Maybe Google Drive. Yeah, Google Drive. Not Dropbox. Not a fan of Dropbox. I don't like it. Yeah.
It's always full.
You gotta buy the.
Buy it more. Anyway, Google Drive's the way. Or Snail tail. High tail. Yeah, so anyway, if I have an idea for a song, maybe I'll record myself and maybe with a metronome and send it over. I think I've done that a couple times, or send a MIDI file. You don't like to do that normally. Typically, the stuff I write, I don't feel like is so challenging that I need to necessarily send a recording. A lot of times, I won't write things for other. I mean, I'll write things specifically for this band because these three have extremely unique voices and can do things that I want to hear them do and I don't want to hear other people do because it's their thing. So I write specifically for them, and so I know that the stuff I write will work, and I know that they're going to do their homework and learn it. I don't believe necessarily in rehearsing too often. I don't know how many times we've rehearsed, but maybe like for a tour, when we haven't played together for over 6 months or 8 months or something, and then we'll have like an hour rehearsal just to run a couple heads. Have we really? I don't think we've rehearsed that much. 3 times? Maybe 3 times over the past like 6 years, something like that. 5 years? Yeah. I don't even know if we rehearsed for a record. We also have the same quartet for Max's group, one of Max's bands, who has a new record, by the way, that's fantastic, called Henceforth. Yeah. And so I guess we rehearsed for that
2 times.
Twice. But you like rehearsing more than I do. Yeah. So I just have faith that these dudes will learn it. And they're all amazing readers and ridiculous musicians, as you can hear. So, and my music isn't so complicated that I think it'll be problematic. So, was there another part of that?
Yeah.
Oh, the booking. Yeah, so I always find that booking myself is the most effective way to get things done. I care about my career more than anybody else does. And so, except maybe my wife. So I find booking myself has always been the best way to do it. I have had, I don't know, a dozen booking agents over the past, since 2007, probably 12, 13 booking agents. And I've had one the past couple of years that I like. He got me into a couple different regions that I hadn't been able to get into before for whatever reason. And so that was super helpful. I book my own stuff in the United States. Last night, we played in Northampton. Tonight, we're playing at Scullers. Tomorrow, we're playing at a jazz club called the Side Door in Connecticut. So those are all my kind of connections that I've made over the years. Booking, I find you can blind email people or call people. It's hard to get work that way. I mean, the longer you're in this, you meet different people. If you're playing with other people's bands, you play at a venue and you get to meet the person who's working there, or so on. So just through networking over the years, you develop a list of people, a Rolodex, and you can hit people for certain things. You know, people also share lists of booking places, venues, phone numbers, emails. So find that musicians are usually pretty cool about sharing information. So don't be afraid to ask. You know, people are pretty cool, I found. But yeah. Anybody else? Any answer? Is
Hi, my name's Isel. Do you think this tune would sound the same if any of you weren't actually reading off of the chart?
The blues?
Yeah, the higher blues.
I don't think we need it.
Yeah. I wasn't reading. I think it's pretty much memorized. This one specifically.
So it would sound pretty much the same as reading?
This one specifically.
This one. Yeah.
Okay.
I personally like reading. I don't know, maybe it's a safety thing, but I think definitely it looks worse reading to an audience member. Like when I see a band, I prefer them not having music, but I don't require this band that not have music, have it all memorized. If they want to memorize it, cool. I think we actually have most of the music memorized. But I personally just, maybe it's a way to organize everything. I just like having it there, helps me remember. I like looking at changes. Feels like it gives me I don't know, a sense of freedom, which might seem like it wouldn't be the case, but I'm just so used to it, you know. It is what it is. Yeah. That's a good question. I think some people do require memorizing. I also have like the memory of a flea, so it's hard for me to memorize things. But yeah, what do you guys think about being on book?
Hey, sorry, go ahead. You're closer. All right. You know, it reminds me of Ron Carter. Do you know the bass player Ron Carter? He's an older gentleman at this time, but he's like the most recorded upright bass player in history. He's super awesome. He's on amazing records from a long time ago until right now. But he does a lot of interviews, and he's really, really funny. And I love the things that he says, particularly about like he has his amp on like a pole behind him that's at like head level, because he's like, I need to hear the notes like right here in my ear. And he's also super big on reading. He's like, yeah, like I read because it helps me play more accurately and better. And he's like staring at he's on a stool just like staring at the thing. He's got his thing up there, and I love just how he knows what he likes, and it's just, you know, I think he even gets some flack for like the amp thing and this and that, but man, it's so cool. It's so unique. So like whatever Ron says, I'm down with. But I feel like a lot of times, like Noah, that I like having the music, and I really like complicated music that I pretty much have to stare at the music most of the time. I like that. I like a lot of that. It amazes me when like contemporary classical, like very, very crazy piano music or contemporary music where they have all that memorized. I think that's like the deepest, like, man, like how long does that take to memorize that, you know? So yeah, when possible, we don't look at the music, and I think we're kind of glancing at it a lot of times, but it's useful. It helps me remember things, and you know, so much of this music, if you miss a cue or if you miss a certain thing or you have to jump back to a specific bar, those things are hard to remember a lot of the time. And that's the case in a lot of this. Is like, oh yeah, we got to jump back to measure 51, and it's like a big moment. 50. See, Dan has like the memory of like an elephant or something. Dude gets off book faster than anyone I've ever seen, and it's kind of creepy. Like,
but it's drums. Drums is different.
But you remember all the melodies. Like you remember all these aiming points. Dates. Yeah. No. Watch out for Dan. Max, did you say something?
I also like having music. In a perfect world, you just memorize everything. But I think like reading in general, being a professional musician today is a skill that cannot be underestimated. Like I play in a lot of different original projects, sometimes many in one week. And having the music and having the skills to read and remember every piece and like remember the vibe and everything is something that I think you should really focus on if you want to do this like as a career. Definitely it's super, super helpful to be a good reader. And yeah, and then you can just read and interpret someone's music really quickly, and the memorization process comes along with it over time spent playing it, basically.
Any other questions? How we doing on time? Okay. Say what? Okay, all right, we'll play one more. Want to do a short bar instead? Sure. We'll play one by Max. For all those at home, Max Light on the guitar. Hi, Mom. This is Dan Weiss on the drums. This is Kim Cass on the bass. Kim Cass. And I'm Noah Preminger. Thank you for being here, all of you.